My name is Nora. I'm 33. The night before my wedding, at 8:47 p.m., I was standing in Sylvia's dining room holding a crystal glass of Chardonnay I hadn't touched, watching my future mother-in-law slide a document across the mahogany table toward me with two manicured fingers. "Just a formality, darling," Sylvia said. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Page 15, your signature at the bottom." I set down the glass. The prenup was 127 pages. I'd reviewed the original with my attorney 3 weeks ago. 15 pages, standard asset protection. My company stayed mine. Liam's trust fund stayed his, clean separation. This version was different. "This says Liam is entitled to 50% equity in my company." My voice came out steady. "As co-founder." Liam looked up from his phone. "What?" "Page 15, line 42, I said. "It claims you built the forensics platform with me. That you're entitled to half the valuation as marital property acquired during our engagement." Sylvia's laugh was like wind chimes made of ice. "Oh, Nora, you're always so paranoid about contracts. Liam helped you, didn't he? All those late nights you were working, he was right there supporting you." "He brought me coffee twice." I flipped back to page 1. The header was identical to my attorney's version. The font matched. But the paper felt wrong, slightly thicker. "This isn't the prenup we agreed to." "Are you calling my mother a liar?" Liam's voice had an edge I'd never heard before. Diana walked in from the kitchen carrying a tray of cheese. She was Liam's older sister, married to Jamal, the only person in this family who'd ever asked me a genuine question about my life. But Jamal was working a double shift at the hospital. Diana set down the tray and glanced at the document. "Still making everything difficult, Nora?" she said. "Tomorrow's supposed to be a celebration." "This document is forged." I pulled out my phone. "I'm calling my attorney." Sylvia's hand shot across the table, not touching me, just hovering above my wrist. "At 9 o'clock at night, the day before your wedding? Think about how that looks." "Think about how fraud looks," I said. The room went silent except for the grandfather clock ticking in the corner. Liam stood up. His chair scraped against the hardwood floor. "You know what?" His face was red. "My mother is trying to protect me. Protect us. Your company could tank tomorrow, Nora. You've been lucky, but luck runs out. If we're getting married, we're a team. 50-50. That's what marriage means. Your mother added a clause that says you built my security platform." I kept my voice level. "You work in commercial real estate, Liam. You've never written a line of code in your life." "I supported you emotionally," he was shouting now. "I listened to you complain about investors and stress tests and all that technical garbage for 2 years. That's worth something." Sylvia stood. She was 5'2", but somehow filled the entire room. "Nora, sweetheart, let me be frank. You came from nothing. A state school, no family, no connections. Liam is giving you a life, a name, a place in society. The Hamptons house will be your summer home. My estate will pass to your children. But nothing in this world is free." My hands were shaking. I set the phone down on the table. The original prenup was 15 pages. This is 127. Where did the extra 112 pages come from? "Liam's trust attorney added protections," Sylvia said smoothly. "Given your background, we needed to ensure certain safeguards." "What background?" I asked. "Well," Diana sat down, selecting a piece of brie. "You have to admit, Nora, your mother abandoned you when you were 9. Your father was never in the picture. You grew up in foster care. People from that kind of instability sometimes make impulsive financial decisions. We're not judging. We're protecting." I looked at Liam. His eyes slid away from mine. "You told them I was in foster care?" My voice cracked. "It came up," he said. I'd told him about my childhood exactly once, 3 months into dating, late at night after his company Christmas party. I'd been careful with the details, vague, just enough to explain why I didn't have family photos or childhood anecdotes. He'd held my hand, Told me it didn't matter. Told me he loved me for who I was now. Apparently, he'd filed it away as ammunition. Before I go on, if stories about standing up for yourself mean something to you, please hit like and subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from right now and what time is it there. Let me take you back 4 years to the first time I met Jamal. It was Thanksgiving. Liam and I had been dating for 8 months. He'd invited me to the family estate in Southampton. 22 people around a table that could seat 40. I'd worn a navy dress I'd bought specifically for the occasion. Conservative. Expensive enough to look intentional, but not so expensive that it looked like I was trying too hard. Sylvia had seated me between Liam's cousin Marcus and an empty chair. The empty chair had a place card. Jamal. He's always late, Diana had said from across the table. Trauma surgeon. Never knows when he'll get out of the OR. Jamal arrived at 6:14 p.m., still in scrubs under a wrinkled blazer. He was tall, quiet, with surgical scars on his hands and permanent dark circles under his eyes. He apologized to everyone, kissed Diana's cheek, then sat down and looked at me. "You're Nora," he said. "Liam mentioned you built a cybersecurity company." It was the first time anyone at that table had asked me about my work. The first time anyone had looked at me like I was more than Liam's mysterious girlfriend from nowhere. We talked for 20 minutes about encryption protocols and HIPAA compliance for hospital systems. He asked smart questions. I explained my platform. He pulled out his phone and showed me the disaster of a security system his hospital used. By the time dessert arrived, I'd sketched a preliminary audit plan on a napkin. "You're kind of brilliant," he'd said quietly. "Don't let anyone here make you forget that." It was the only kindness I received that entire weekend. 3 weeks after the Thanksgiving dinner, the first betrayal came. I was at my office on a Saturday morning. We'd just closed a major contract with a national bank chain, 7 figures, 18 months of work. My COO, Marcus, had opened a bottle of Prosecco at 10 a.m. We were toasting when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. "Miss Chen?" A woman's voice, professional, cold. "This is Patricia Vance from Apex Capital Management. We're calling regarding the margin debt on the Southampton property at 47 Dune Road." "I'm sorry," I said. "I don't own property in Southampton." "Our records show you co-signed a power of attorney allowing the property to be used as collateral for a $3.2 million margin loan. The loan is currently in default. We're initiating foreclosure proceedings." My stomach dropped. I never signed any power of attorney. "We have a notarized document dated March 3rd. Your signature, your driver's license number. Is this not Nora Chen?" "This is Nora Chen, but I didn't sign anything." My voice was too loud. Marcus looked up from his computer. "That's fraud." "I understand this is concerning, ma'am. I'm sending you a copy of the document now. Please review it with your attorney and contact us within 72 hours. The email arrived while I was still on the phone. I opened the PDF on my laptop. The document was perfect. My signature looked right. The notary seal looked legitimate. The date was March 3rd, a Tuesday 3 months ago when I'd been in Boston meeting with venture capital firms. Except my signature wasn't quite right. The loop on the N was too round. I always made it angular. Sharp. A tiny detail. But I'd spent 6 years building a company that analyzed forged documents for a living. I knew the difference. I called Liam. "Hey, babe," he answered. Background noise. A restaurant, maybe. "What's up?" "Did your mother take out a margin loan using the Hamptons house as collateral?" I asked. Silence. Then, "How did you know about that?" "Did she use my name?" Look, she was helping you. She knew you'd want to invest in the house renovations once we were married. She just accelerated the timeline." "Liam, I never signed a power of attorney." "You probably forgot. Mom said you signed it at Easter brunch. You were drinking mimosas. You were pretty tipsy." I had been at Easter brunch. But I'd been on antibiotics for a sinus infection. I hadn't touched alcohol, and I definitely hadn't signed any legal documents. That's not my signature, I said. Nora. His voice changed. Harder. My mother wouldn't forge your signature. She's trying to help us. The house needs work before the wedding. She's putting in a pool, renovating the kitchen. For you. For our life together. I'm reporting this to the police. Are you insane? He was yelling now. People in the background went quiet. You're going to accuse my mother of fraud because you don't remember signing a piece of paper? Do you know what that would do to this family? To me? It's identity theft. It's a misunderstanding. Jesus, Nora. Sometimes I think you're looking for reasons to cause drama. He hung up. I sat in my office for 47 minutes. Marcus came in once, saw my face, and left quietly. I pulled up the security footage from my building. March 3rd, I'd been in the office from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. Time-stamped entry logs, badge swipes, camera footage showing me in 3 different meetings. The forged power of attorney had been notarized in Southampton at 2:30 p.m. I was 206 miles away. I didn't call the police. I told myself I needed more evidence. I told myself maybe it was a mistake. I told myself Liam loved me, and his mother was just aggressive about family finances and I was overreacting. I told myself a lot of lies that spring. By June, everyone knew. I'm still not sure how the rumor started. Maybe Diana? Maybe Sylvia mentioned it to a friend at the country club. But suddenly, people at industry conferences were asking me pointed questions. How was the family integration going? Was I adjusting to old money expectations? One investor pulled me aside at a summit in Chicago and said, I heard you're signing over half your equity as a wedding gift. That's generous. Or desperate. I lost 3 clients that month. All politely, all with vague excuses about restructuring priorities or exploring other vendors. But I knew. If people thought I was giving away half my company, they thought I was weak, exploitable, not someone you trusted with your security infrastructure. My board called an emergency meeting. They were kind about it, concerned, but the questions were sharp. Was I truly maintaining independence? Was there any truth to the rumors about equity transfer? Did I have the emotional bandwidth to run a company during major life changes? I showed them the original prenup, 15 pages, clean separation of assets. They seemed satisfied, but I saw the doubt in their eyes. My checking account balance on June 28th was $847. I'd put every spare dollar into company growth, stock options instead of salary. It's what you do when you're building something. You bet on yourself. But $847 doesn't pay for a wedding dress. Doesn't pay for the photographer Sylvia had already booked. Doesn't pay for the florist or the cake or the string quartet. Don't worry about it, darling, Sylvia had said when I'd tried to contribute. Liam's trust is covering everything. Consider it our gift. You just show up and look beautiful. I should have seen it then. The trap. But I was tired. And part of me, a small, desperate part, wanted to believe that maybe they were just generous. Maybe this was how wealthy families operated. Maybe I was being paranoid. I took a second job. Not really a job. Consulting work. 3 nights a week I'd review security protocols for small businesses. $300 an hour, cash payments. I didn't tell Liam. I told myself it was temporary. Just until after the wedding. Just until I felt less dependent. The work was mind-numbing. Password audits for dental offices, firewall reviews for boutique law firms. But it was mine. Money I'd earned that didn't come with conditions or commentary. I met my supervisor, Karen, at a coffee shop in Brooklyn. She ran a small IT consulting firm, 15 employees. She was 62 with gray hair in a bun and reading glasses on a chain around her neck. You're overqualified for this, she'd said, looking at my resume. I need flexible hours, I'd replied. She'd studied me for a long moment, then nodded. Okay, but if you're in trouble, you tell me. I wasn't in trouble. I was just careful. The public humiliation came on a Tuesday in July. I was at a client meeting in Midtown, presenting a security audit to the CFO of a pharmaceutical company. 16 people in the conference room. I'd been talking for 20 minutes when the conference room door opened. Sylvia walked in. She was wearing Chanel, pearls, heels that clicked on the polished floor. She smiled at the room like she owned it. "I'm so sorry to interrupt," she said, "but I'm looking for my son's fiancé. Nora? Darling, we have a dress fitting in 40 minutes." Every person in that room turned to look at me. "Mrs. Ashford," I said quietly, "I'm in the middle of a presentation." "Oh, I know, sweetheart. But the bridal salon only had this one slot available. You understand?" She looked at the CFO. "She's getting married in 6 weeks. So exciting. You know how brides are? Scattered. Can't focus on anything but the wedding." The CFO's expression changed. Subtle, but I saw it. The presentation I'd been giving, the one about long-term security infrastructure, suddenly felt less credible coming from someone whose future mother-in-law could interrupt a professional meeting to talk about dress fittings. "I don't have a fitting scheduled," I said. "Well, I scheduled it." Sylvia's smile was bright and sharp. "Because left to your own devices, darling, you'd show up in something off the rack, and we can't have that, not for the Ashford wedding." One of the junior analysts smirked. Another looked uncomfortable. "I'll call you later to reschedule," I told the CFO. "Actually," he said, standing, "we're going to need some time to review internally anyway. We'll be in touch." I knew what that meant. They wouldn't be in touch. Sylvia linked her arm through mine in the elevator. "You're welcome," she said. "For what?" "For saving you from looking desperate. Honey, that CFO was never going to hire you. I could tell from the hallway. Too small time for what they need, but now you have a graceful exit. That was a $400,000 contract. And now you can focus on the wedding." She patted my hand. "Trust me, in 6 weeks none of this will matter. You'll be Mrs. Ashford. You'll have everything you ever wanted." Something hardened inside me, something cold and clear. I didn't respond. I walked her to her car, thanked her politely, waved as she drove away. Then I went back to my office and pulled up the power of attorney document again. The notary's signature belonged to Helen Pritchard. I found her business on LinkedIn, Southampton-based. I called her office. "Ms. Pritchard's calendar is booked through September," her assistant said. "I just need to verify a notarization from March 3rd, I said. "Case number N4782. One moment." Typing sounds. "Yes, I have that. Property document for Sylvia Ashford. Signed and notarized at 2:30 p.m. on March 3rd. Who was present for the signing? Just Mrs. Ashford. She presented identification for herself and the co-signer, Nora Chen. My hands went cold. I wasn't there. Silence. Then, "According to our records, Mrs. Ashford presented your driver's license and stated you'd already signed the document. She just needed the notary seal." "That's not legal." "Ma'am, I'm going to transfer you to our legal department." I hung up. My driver's license had been in my wallet, in my purse, in my office, all day on March 3rd, except for 1 hour. I'd left my purse in Liam's car when we'd stopped for coffee that morning. He'd run in to grab our drinks while I took a call. 7 minutes, maybe 8. Long enough to photograph a driver's license. I sat at my desk until the office went dark, until the cleaning crew came through, until my phone buzzed with a text from Liam. "Dinner at Mom's tomorrow, 7 p.m., don't be late." I almost didn't go. But then I thought about the Hamptons house, about the $3.2 million in debt that had my forged signature attached, about the prenup with the mysterious extra 112 pages, about the wedding in 6 weeks that I'd somehow stopped planning and started surviving. I needed to know what else they'd forged. So I went. And that's where I met Jamal in the hallway, coming back from a night shift. He looked exhausted, scrubs rumpled, coffee stain on his collar, but when he saw me, he stopped. "You okay?" he asked. "Why do you ask?" "Because you look like I feel." He smiled slightly, like someone who's been sucker punched but too proud to sit down. I almost cried. Instead, I laughed. "That's accurate." He glanced toward the dining room. Voices, Sylvia's laugh. Diana saying something about flower arrangements. Listen, he said quietly. I know my family can be a lot, but you don't have to do this, whatever this is. You know that, right? Do what? Marry someone who doesn't protect you from his mother. He said it gently, not unkindly. I see the way Liam is with you, the way he watches you but doesn't really see you. You deserve someone who sees you. You barely know me. I know you built a company from your dorm room. I know you're brilliant at what you do. I know you're kind enough to help a stranger redesign his hospital's security system on a napkin at Thanksgiving. And I know you're terrified right now, but pretending you're not. He touched my shoulder briefly. If you need anything, I mean anything, you call me. I'm serious. He handed me his card. Dr. Jamal Foster, trauma surgery, a cell number written in pen on the back. Thank you, I whispered. He nodded and walked upstairs to find Diana. I didn't know it then, but that conversation saved my life. 3 weeks later, Jamal died. Motorcycle accident on the Long Island Expressway, instant. The funeral was enormous. 200 people. Diana sobbed through the entire service. Sylvia sat stone-faced in the front row. Liam held my hand but spent most of the service on his phone. I sat in the fourth row and cried for a man who'd been kind to me exactly twice. After the service, Diana approached me in the parking lot. Her face was swollen from crying. Jamal had savings, she said. Almost $200,000. I'm going to use it to pay off some of Liam's investment debts. Jamal would have wanted to help the family. Did he tell you that? I asked. She looked at me like I'd slapped her. He didn't have to. He was family. I didn't argue. But I thought about Jamal's face when he'd asked me if I was okay. The way he'd warned me. The way he'd offered help. I didn't think he'd want his life savings funding Liam's margin calls. 4 days after the funeral, I received a package at my office. No return address, just a key and a handwritten note. Storage Unit 347, Secure Space Queens, code 0814J. I went alone. The storage unit was small, climate-controlled. Inside, a banker's box with my name on it. Inside the box, Jamal's medical school notebooks, a few childhood photos, and a sealed manila envelope with "Open only if something happens to me" written across the front in black marker. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside, a letter. And photocopies. Dozens of them. The letter was handwritten on hospital stationery. Nora, if you're reading this, then I'm gone, and Sylvia is already doing exactly what I knew she would do. I'm sorry I couldn't stop this while I was alive. I tried. I confronted her twice. She doesn't hear reason. She only hears documents. Do you remember Thanksgiving when we talked about hospital security? I told you that you were brilliant. I meant it. But I also meant the second part. Don't let anyone make you forget. I've been watching my family manipulate people for 38 years. I thought marrying Diana would change things. It didn't. She's exactly like her mother. And Liam is exactly like both of them. I've been documenting everything for 3 years. Since the first time I heard Sylvia mention your name. Since the first time I realized they were planning something. Inside this envelope, copy of the original prenup, 15 pages, signed by your attorney. Copy of the forged prenup, 127 pages, note the page 15 insertion. Original power of attorney application showing Sylvia's handwriting practice. She practiced your signature 47 times on the back. Bank statements showing Liam's $3, $2 million margin debt from failed cryptocurrency investments. Email chains between Sylvia and Liam discussing the Chen acquisition plan. Recorded phone call, flash drive, where Diana and Sylvia discuss waiting until after the wedding to lock everything down. Title deed to the Hamptons house showing it's already in foreclosure. My own affidavit witnessed by 2 attorneys stating I believe my family is committing fraud. The original legal documents are with my attorney, Marcus Chen. No relation to you, ironically. His office is at 847 Park Avenue South, Suite 1200. The copies I've left you are incomplete. Not enough to prove anything on your own, but enough to know I'm telling the truth. Don't show this to anyone yet. Not Liam, not Diana, especially not Sylvia. Wait until you have legal protection. Wait until you're ready. Marcus has instructions to contact you 6 months after my death if he hasn't heard from you. He has the full file. He knows what to do. You are not what they say you are. You're not the poor orphan who got lucky. You're not the girl who needs saving. You're the person who built something from nothing. You're the person who saw a broken system and fixed it. You're the person who helped strangers redesign hospital security on napkins because you actually care. Never forget that. Also, I installed a root backdoor on Liam's phone last Christmas. He thought I was updating his software. I wasn't. Everything he texts, every call he makes, every email he sends, it's all backed up to an encrypted server. Username: Nora_Chen_backup. Password: Jamal2024_truth. The server address is on the flash drive. I'm sorry I won't be there to see you win this, but you will win. Because they underestimated you. They always do. All my love and respect, Jamal. P.S. The code 0814 is Diana's birthday. She'll never think to check my storage unit because she assumes I only thought about her. I didn't. I thought about the people she hurt. I read it 3 times. Then I opened my laptop and logged into the backup server. 12,000 text messages, 400 emails, 73 phone calls, all time-stamped, all archived. I spent 6 hours reading. By the end, I understood everything. The plan had started 18 months ago. Liam had lost $4.7 million in a cryptocurrency scheme. Margin calls, debt, desperation. Sylvia had offered to help, but only if he could bring assets to the table. Real assets, not promises. That's when he told her about me, about my company, about the $45 million valuation. The texts were clinical, calculating. Liam to Sylvia. She's paranoid about prenups. Her lawyer already reviewed a clean version. Sylvia to Liam. Then we add pages after she signs. She won't reread a 127-page document. People never do. Diana to Sylvia. What if she notices? Sylvia to Diana. She won't. And if she does, we'll gaslight her, tell her she's remembering wrong, blame wedding stress. By the time she figures it out, she'll be legally married, and the co-founder clause will be binding. There were emails to forgers, $15,000 to a document specialist in Atlantic City, another $8,000 to someone who could replicate notary seals. And there was the conversation from 2 nights ago. Liam to Sylvia. Nora's asking questions about the power of attorney. Sylvia to Liam. Stay calm. Make her feel crazy. She has no family, no support system. Who's she going to believe? Us or her paranoia? Liam to Sylvia. What if she calls it off? Sylvia to Liam. She won't. She's desperate to belong somewhere. That's why I chose her. I closed my laptop. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I sat in that storage unit on a metal folding chair and felt something inside me turn to steel. They thought I was desperate to belong. They were right. I had been desperate for family, for acceptance, for someone to choose me. But desperation is only weakness if you let it be. I called Marcus Chen, Jamal's attorney. Miss Chen, he said when he answered, I've been expecting your call. Jamal left me documents. He did. And I have the full set. Original prenup, original title deeds, notary fraud evidence, financial records, recorded calls, all of it legally obtained and admissible in court. What do I do? You come to my office tomorrow at 9 a.m. We file for an injunction to stop the wedding. We submit fraud charges against Sylvia Ashford and Liam Ashford. We protect your assets. We start the process. They'll destroy me publicly. They'll try. But Jamal documented everything, including the part where they planned to wait until you were legally married to liquidate your company equity and pay off their debts. They were going to bankrupt you, Nora. Slowly, over 2 years. Make it look like business failures. They had a whole timeline. My hands were shaking. How did Jamal know? He heard them planning it at Christmas dinner. He spent the next 3 years gathering evidence. He came to me 6 months before he died and said, "If anything happens to me, make sure Nora knows the truth." He didn't trust his family, but he trusted you. I thought about Jamal handing me his card in the hallway, telling me I deserve someone who saw me. He'd seen me, the whole time. He'd been protecting me. "I'll be there tomorrow at 9 a.m., I said. "Good. And Nora? Don't tell them you know. Not yet. Let them think they've won. The best trap is the one they walk into themselves." I hung up, locked the storage unit, drove back to my apartment. Liam texted me at 11 p.m. "Mom's excited about tomorrow night. She really wants to welcome you into the family properly. Wear something nice." I stared at the text for a long moment. Then I replied, "I'll be there." The next evening, I walked into Sylvia's dining room at exactly 8:47 p.m., wearing a black dress and the smile I'd practiced in the mirror. They had the forged prenup waiting, and I had the original in my purse, along with a flash drive containing every text, every email, every recorded call, and a lawyer on speed dial who knew exactly what to do. But I didn't show my hand. Not yet. I let Sylvia slide the document across the table. Let her perform her rehearsed lines. Let Liam pretend he didn't know what was happening. Let Diana act concerned about my paranoia. I picked up the pen. "Actually," I said calmly, "I'd like my attorney to review this first. Standard practice for contracts over 100 pages. Sylvia's smile tightened. "Darling, we don't have time for that. The wedding is tomorrow." "Then we'll sign after the wedding. During the honeymoon, maybe." Liam stood up. "Nora, you're being ridiculous." "I'm being careful. There's a difference." "You don't trust us." Diana's voice was sharp. "I don't sign documents I haven't reviewed," I said. "That's not about trust. That's about basic legal literacy." Sylvia set down her wine glass. The sound was very loud in the quiet room. "I see. Well, I suppose we've all learned something tonight about where we stand." "I suppose we have," I agreed. I left at 9:03 p.m. Liam followed me to my car. "You're embarrassing me," he hissed. "My mother is trying to help you." "Is she?" I looked at him carefully. "Or is she trying to help you pay off $4.7 million in cryptocurrency debt?" His face went white. "I know about the margin calls," I said quietly. "I know about the forged power of attorney. I know about the prenup pages you added after I signed the original. I know all of it, Liam. You're insane. I have emails. You have nothing." "I have Jamal's evidence, all of it, time-stamped, documented, legal." He grabbed my arm. "Jamal is dead. But his attorney isn't. And neither am I." I pulled my arm free. "The wedding is off. I'll have my lawyer contact yours on Monday." I got in my car and drove away. Liam called 17 times that night. Sylvia called 9 times. Diana sent 14 texts threatening legal action for breach of contract and emotional damages. I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I called Marcus Chen and said, "Change of plans. I want to file everything tonight." "Are you sure?" "They're going to show up at the cathedral tomorrow expecting a wedding. I want them to find restraining orders instead." He was quiet for a moment, then, "Aggressive. I like it. Give me 2 hours." At 11:47 p.m., we filed fraud charges, identity theft, forgery, civil suits for emotional damages and attempted financial exploitation, restraining orders preventing them from accessing any of my accounts, properties, or business assets. And then I did something Jamal's letter had made possible. I activated the poison pill provision in my company's operating agreement. A clause I'd buried on page 94 that said if any attempt was made to fraudulently claim equity through marriage or forgery, all shares immediately transferred into a blind trust managed by my board. Untouchable. Unliquidatable. The clause was triggered by the filed fraud charges. By midnight, Sylvia, Liam, and Diana had exactly zero legal claim to anything I'd built. The cathedral was booked for 2 p.m. on Saturday. I arrived at 1:45 p.m. The space was spectacular. Stained glass windows throwing colored light across white marble floors. 300 chairs arranged in perfect rows. Flower arrangements worth $40,000. A string quartet warming up near the altar. Sylvia was in the bride's preparation room adjusting her hat when I walked in. She turned and smiled. "Oh, thank God. I thought you might actually skip your own wedding. Diana, she's here." Diana came out of the bathroom holding a makeup brush. "We need to start on your face immediately. You look exhausted." "I'm not getting married today," I said. Sylvia's smile didn't falter. "Cold feet are normal, darling. Every bride feels this way." "I'm not nervous. I'm done." I pulled out my phone and set it on the vanity. On the screen, the filed legal documents. "You've been served, all three of you, fraud charges, identity theft, forgery. The restraining orders are already in effect." Diana's face went slack. "What?" "I know about the forged prenup. I know about the power of attorney. I know about Liam's debt and your plan to liquidate my company." I looked at Sylvia. "I know you practiced my signature 47 times on the back of a legal pad." Sylvia's face changed. The warmth drained out of it like water from a cracked basin. "You have no proof." Jamal had proof. He documented everything for 3 years. Every email, every text, every phone call. He knew exactly what you were planning. "Jamal is dead," Sylvia's voice was ice. "His attorney isn't, and the evidence is already filed with the court." Diana grabbed my arm. "You can't do this. The guests are here. 300 people. This will humiliate us." "You humiliated yourselves." I pulled my arm free. "I'm just making sure everyone knows the truth." Sylvia stepped forward. She was tiny, but her rage made her seem enormous. "You ungrateful little bitch. I gave you everything. A name, a family, a place in society, and this is how you repay me? You didn't give me anything. You tried to steal everything. We saved you." Her voice was shaking now. "You were nobody. Nothing. A charity case. We made you somebody." "No," I said quietly. "I made myself somebody. I built a company worth $45 million from a college dorm room. I created a security platform that protects 18 national banks. I did that, not you, not Liam, not this family. Without us, you're just a poor orphan playing dress-up." I looked at her for a long moment. "You're right. I am an orphan. My mother left when I was 9. My father was never in the picture. I grew up in 7 different foster homes. I ate school lunch because it was the only hot meal I'd get all day. I wore clothes from donation bins. I studied in public libraries because I didn't have a desk." Sylvia's eyes gleamed. "Exactly. You needed us." "No. I needed to believe that someone could want me without wanting to use me. That's what I needed, and you knew that. You saw that vulnerability, and you weaponized it." Diana was crying now. "We were going to be family." "Family doesn't forge documents," I said. "Family doesn't plan to bankrupt you over 2 years. Family doesn't practice your signature 47 times to steal your life's work." I walked toward the door. "Where are you going?" Sylvia demanded. "To tell 300 people the truth." I walked down the hallway, through the preparation area, into the main cathedral. The guests were seated. Whispers died as I appeared. I wasn't in a wedding dress. I was in jeans and a sweater. But I walked down the aisle anyway. Liam was at the altar. He saw me and his face went gray. I stopped halfway down the aisle and turned to face the crowd. "Thank you all for coming," I said. My voice carried in the high-ceilinged space. "I know this isn't what you expected. I'm sorry for that, but I need to tell you something important." The quartet stopped playing. 3 months ago, Sylvia Ashford forged my signature on a power of attorney document. She used it to take out a $3.2 million loan against her house, claiming I was a co-signer. I wasn't. I was in Boston at a business meeting. I have time-stamped security footage proving I was 200 miles away when the document was notarized. Gasps rippled through the crowd. 2 weeks ago, I was presented with a prenuptial agreement that claimed Liam was co-founder of my company and entitled to 50% equity. This was a lie. The original prenup was 15 pages and protected both our assets separately. The version I was shown had 112 additional pages added after I'd signed. The forgery included a fake page 15 that claimed Liam had built my security platform. He didn't. He's never written a line of code in his life. Someone in the third row stood up and walked out. An aunt, I think. Others shifted uncomfortably. I know this because Jamal Foster documented everything. He spent 3 years gathering evidence because he knew his family was planning to defraud me. He left me copies of the original documents, email chains discussing the forgery, recordings of planning conversations, and bank statements showing Liam's cryptocurrency debts. Liam stepped forward. She's lying. She's having a breakdown, wedding stress. She doesn't know what she's saying. I know exactly what I'm saying. I pulled out my phone. Would you like me to read the texts? The ones where you and your mother discussed waiting until after the wedding to lock down the Chen acquisition? Or the ones where you called me desperate to belong and said that's why your mother chose me? His face crumbled. I looked back at the crowd. I've filed fraud charges with the police. I've filed civil suits for attempted financial exploitation. I've activated the poison pill provision in my company's operating agreement, which means no one can claim equity through marriage or forgery. My assets are protected. My company is protected. I'm protected. Sylvia appeared at the back of the cathedral. She was still in her hat, still composed. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for this disruption. Miss Chen is understandably overwhelmed. Planning a wedding is stressful. We'll reschedule once she's feeling more herself. I looked at her. Read your texts from last night, Sylvia. The ones where you told Liam to make her feel crazy. The ones where you said I have no family, no support system, so I'd believe you over my own memory. Someone in the fifth row pulled out their phone. Others followed. Within seconds, whispers turned into murmurs. Liam's uncle stood. Is this true, Sylvia? Of course not. She's fabricating. Because if it's true, the uncle continued, the whole family is liable. Fraud charges affect the estate, the trust, everything. Other family members stood. Questions erupted. Diana ran down the aisle toward me. You're destroying us! No, I said calmly. You destroyed yourselves. I'm just making sure everyone knows. Sylvia's voice cut through the chaos. She's lying. She has nothing. It's her word against ours. I looked at her. I have Jamal's documented evidence. I have the forged documents with your handwriting practice on the back. I have recorded calls. I have text messages. I have emails. I have bank statements. I have my own security footage proving I wasn't where you claimed I was. I have notary testimony confirming you presented my ID without me present. I have 3 attorneys and a forensic document analyst ready to testify. The cathedral went silent. Sylvia's face was the color of old paper. Liam walked down from the altar. His hands were shaking. Nora, please. We can fix this. We can... No. I stepped back. We can't. Because this wasn't a mistake. This was a plan. You saw someone vulnerable and you decided to exploit her. You saw someone who wanted to belong and you turned that into a weapon. I love you, he said. No, you don't. You love what I built. You love the $45 million valuation. You love the idea of using me to solve your problems. I looked at the crowd. That's not love. That's extraction. I walked back down the aisle, past the stunned guests, past the expensive flowers, past the string quartet. At the door, I turned back one more time. If any of you knew what they were planning and said nothing, you were complicit. If you suspected and stayed silent, you chose their comfort over my safety. I won't forget that. Then I left. Behind me, I heard the chaos erupt. Shouting, accusations. Sylvia's voice screaming at someone. Diana crying. Liam saying something about lawyers. I got in my car and drove to Jamal's grave. It was a quiet cemetery in Queens. Simple headstone. Fresh flowers that Diana must have left. I sat on the grass next to the marker and cried for 20 minutes. "Thank you," I whispered finally. "Thank you for seeing me. Thank you for protecting me. Thank you for believing I was worth saving." The wind moved through the trees. Somewhere nearby, a bird sang. "I'm going to be okay," I said, "because you made sure I would be." I left my own flowers, white roses, his favorite, according to the eulogy. Then I went home. 6 months later, my life looked completely different. The legal case took 4 months. Sylvia, Liam, and Diana were all convicted of fraud and attempted identity theft. Sylvia got 18 months, Liam got 12 months, Diana got probation and community service. The Hamptons house was foreclosed, sold at auction for $2.8 million, barely covered the debt. I bought it, not to live in, but to turn into a foundation house. The Jamal Foster Foundation for Young Entrepreneurs. Free business mentorship for kids from foster care, scholarship funding for college, legal resources for people targeted by family financial abuse. I hired Karen from my consulting days as the executive director. She cried when I asked her. My company grew. We added 12 new clients, expanded to cybersecurity for medical systems, Jamal's suggestion from that Thanksgiving dinner. Revenue doubled. I moved to a loft in Brooklyn, tall windows, good light, a desk where I could work without looking over my shoulder. And I adopted a cat, a gray tabby with white paws who'd been at the shelter for 8 months because he was too nervous around people. I named him Jamal. If you're watching this and you've ever stayed in a relationship because you were afraid of being alone, I want you to know something. Being alone is not the same as being abandoned. Being alone can be the safest place you've ever been. Sometimes the people who hurt you most are the ones who promised to love you. And sometimes the people who save you are the ones you barely knew. Jamal saw me in a way no one else did, not because he knew me well, but because he looked. Most people don't look. They see what they expect, what they want, what's convenient. But some people look, really look. And when you find someone like that, you hold on to that moment, because it reminds you that you're real. You're visible, you matter. I'm sitting in my loft right now. It's snowing outside. Big fat flakes that stick to the windows. My cat is asleep on my desk. My company's annual report is open on my laptop. We just hit $67 million in valuation. I should feel triumphant. Mostly I feel quiet. The cathedral that day wasn't about revenge. It was about truth, about refusing to let someone else write my story. They thought I needed them. They were wrong. I needed to remember that I didn't. If you've ever had to walk away from someone who promised you family but delivered betrayal, type "I walked away" in the comments. Or if you chose to stay and fight for the truth instead of running, type "I fought for truth." Both take courage. Both are valid. If this story meant something to you, check the description for more stories just like this one. Thank you for being here. Stay warm out there.